This is an SM Media production.
Things are gonna get better real soon. Yeah, I'ma just do me, you just do you. I swear it's gonna get better real soon. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. I got a clear view. We're gonna make it soon. Just keep pushing through.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Sit Down right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike, delighted to be your host as always. A very special guest in this episode, joined by the former Kilmarnock, Rangers, St Johnstone and Peterhead goalkeeper Graeme Smith. Graeme, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, mate. Thanks very much for joining me.
No, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
How you doing, all right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's just getting used to the new schedule, the homeschooling, the working from home, the Zoom calls. It's the new way of life, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And obviously, you're at Rangers Academy. What's the setup there like now these days? What's going on?
Again, just obviously got to go off the government guidelines. So everything below the first team's kind of remote at the moment. So we're just trying to put physical programs, technical programs, remote programs in terms of stuff for the kids to do, stuff for the full-time guys to do, and just making sure that we're hopefully giving them as much content as we possibly can. I mean, we did fantastic in the last lockdown. I mean, it was the envy of a lot of other clubs. Granted, we have a bigger budget and etc. and more staff, but as I say, what we put in place, the feedback was fantastic for both other clubs, parents, etc. So we're hoping to just kind of keep that rolling out the now until such times as we're allowed to get back training and playing.
Definitely. Obviously, you're back at Rangers now. How glad are you to be back there, and how much you've been enjoying it?
Yeah, it's been good. Again, when I finished the season with Raith a couple of seasons ago, I still had a couple of offers to still play, but I had a couple of coaching offers as well, and already been in the Rangers Academy, and then with Colin Stewart moving from the head of academy goalkeeping up to the first team, the job was basically offered to me. And as I say, I kind of toed and froed slightly because I thought I still had a couple of years left in the gloves yet. But after a short period, I decided that it was probably best to hang up the gloves and just move full time into coaching. And as I say, it's not a decision I regret because it's been great. The last couple of years has been really good, and obviously we've had a couple of the goalies progressing through the pathway quite well. So as I say, it's been a good start, and hopefully it can long continue.
Brilliant. Well, make a wee start in your career. Just talk a wee bit about where you grew up and what your family life was like, etc.
Airdrie born and bred, still live here today. Again, just really, funnily enough, started as an outfielder. Just mum and dad, older brother David, who's 3 years older than me. And he was a striker, so I think that was probably how I ended up making the transition into getting papped in goals and just having to save his shots. But I always kind of had a wee kind of inclination for goalkeepers, and there was always guys I looked out for, and I kind of still like that wee kind of novelty bit. I quite liking the goalkeeper. But fun enough, I started. Obviously, now you get age groups for 4, 5, 6 year old. Then when I was young, it was under 10 was the earliest. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I used to go and watch my brother, and he was 3 years older than me, you end up kicking the ball to the side, and then you get involved in the training sometimes, and you kind of get a head start on everybody else because you're only 7 or 8 year old. And then it came to a point, I think under 9, I was playing under 10, and then as I say, it just kicked on through there. So, but always obsessed with football. Say it to my kids now, where they've got tablets and they've got all these games and as I say, they're quick to pick up a controller or a remote control. Whereas when I was young, it was just football. So my dad was a keen Rangers fan, Scotland fan. My brother was the same. He just loved football as well. So any opportunity I had, I was out in a bit of grass, a bit of Ash Park, just kicking the ball off the back of a shed, whatever it may be. Probably broke a couple of the neighbours' fences and all. Just obsessed, and that's just kind of started for there.
Brilliant. Who were your kind of early heroes when you were growing up?
Fun enough, being a midfielder, it was Graeme Smith. I had a Graeme Smith video, and just used to just love the guy. Just as I say, hard tackler, great passer, athletic, and it just seemed to me that every goal he scored and his video was like a volley or a wonder strike or whatever, as I say. And then obviously, I used to go and watch Airdrie when I was quite young. There was a couple of guys in that team as well, like the Jimmy Sandersons, the Kenny Blacks, and then obviously you're going to watch anytime you get an opportunity. You try and your dad was going to take you to Rangers as well. And as I say, you go into Rangers and you're talking about the McCoys and the Durants and even the Davy Cooper at that age as well. So as I say, there was loads of players I looked up to. But as I say, I just loved football at that time.
Brilliant. And obviously your boys' clubs days as well. When did you start obviously going kind of playing in the boys' clubs and then going in nets?
Well, again, just played with my brothers. Well, went to watch my brother's team, and there was boys' brigade football I played. There was school football I played. It was like you were playing like 4 games a weekend. You played on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning. So as I say, just a time when it was brilliant. Just you played all the time, and it was. I ended up. I think I played 1 year at under 10, and then I played when I was 9, and then I played my official year. I was a local team called Maltons United, and as I say, with a good team, with loads of good players, and as I say, 2 great coaches. Fun enough, one was my dad, and one was a great friend of the family, Alec Donaldson, who's sadly no longer with us. But they two were a big influence on me growing up in terms of kind of shaping you as a person, but shaping you as a football player as well. And as I say, it wasn't a case of then, it was you had level 1.2 and 1.2 and everybody had to be qualified. It was like guys were electricians, plumbers, printers, janitors. It was just like 9 times out of 10 it was somebody's dad. But as I say, just back then, just playing all the time. And again, after my first kind of proper season at under 10 when we won quite a lot, I was kind of scouted for the Rangers Supporters Association, which was kind of loosely affiliated with the club at that time, and I ended up playing with them for 11 right through to 15. But again, it was that time where people at 13, 14 were wanting you to sign S forms, and my dad was saying, no, just play as much as you can. So it was one night I was playing with Albion Rovers Select, the next night it was Man City, the next night it was Oldham. I just played every night, I trained every night as much as I could, and played games. And the transition into goals probably came about 13, 14, where I've been playing middle of the park and playing kind of sweeper or whatever in my early days, and then I always kind of was one of the guys that I jumped in goals for the penalties, and you still see pros doing it now, where they jump in, they take the goalie's gloves and they jump in for a wee game of 5-a-sides and the penalties and all the kind of daft stuff at the end of training. And then one of our goalkeepers got injured, and I can't remember what the other one was, but I ended up going in goals for maybe 30 or 40 minutes to a game. Then played the next week in goals, again, just as you do at boys club, just to kind of mix and match. And then the scout for Motherwell was there, and he said, we want you to come and train me as a goalkeeper. And I said, well, I'm not actually a goalkeeper. And they said, well, we think you're good enough to be a goalkeeper. So that kind of season I was kind of in and out, and I kind of looked more towards a goalkeeper. And then all of a sudden the next year I signed as a goalkeeper. Another goalkeeper moved on, and as I say, just that was me for there. So it was probably good timing, because I started to lose my pace then.
Brilliant. And when did Kilmarnock kind of come looking for you, and how was the scouting process for
that? Again, it was the kind of playing with Rangers up to about 15, and then again just was told it was no longer required as such. So I went and played a season at under 15 with Ayr United.
Right.
It was a fair bit of travelling, but again, my dad was fantastic. Again, never missed a training session, never missed a game. It was planes, trains and automobiles sometimes, but you always got there by hook or by crook. And as I say, played a season with under 15s. I was supposed to go to the Gothia Cup, which was a tournament in Sweden. Yeah. And then Kilmarnock had obviously been down that way and playing in the Ayrshire leagues and stuff. The Kilmarnock had then asked me if I wanted to go to the Mill Cup with their older squad. So obviously Kilmarnock SPL team at that time wasn't sure what was happening with United, so I decided to tell them I wasn't going to Sweden and I was going to go to Northern Ireland to the Milk Cup with Kilmarnock. Great, loved it, played a year above myself, did reasonably well. The games that I played, it was just a great experience to actually go and play with guys that were going to be full time. And then, as I said, Kilmarnock, off the back of the Milk Cup, they wanted to sign me, so played under 16s with Kilmarnock. The goalkeeper that was there at the time, under 18 goalkeeper, it was at the time, I think kind of November, December, broke his foot. So again, it was back to being young, just playing all the time. So I was playing with the under-18s on a Saturday, and then I was going to play my own age group, the under-16s on a Sunday. And as I say, no long after that, within 3 or 4 weeks, they wanted me to go full-time. My mum and dad wouldn't let me because they wanted me to stay in at school for the end of the year. But again, it was just a waste of time because I ended up mucking about at school because I knew there was a contract waiting for me there anyway. Silly and selfishly, but looking back on it now, it wasn't probably the best idea. But as I say, I knew I had a contract there for me, and again, just went into Kilmarnock at I think that would mean about June, July '99.
Right.
And as I say, it all kicked off for there, and as I say, I've luckily enough been involved in the game ever since.
Brilliant. You had some good youth team days at Kilmarnock. What was the ones that stuck out to you?
Great players, great. I mean, the youth set up at Kilmarnock, second to none in Ayrshire. As I say, we loved the training, loved the place. I mean, the fact that you used to get up in the morning, my dad would run me to the train station, or I'd need to get the bus to the train station. I'd get the train from Airdrie to Glasgow, to Queen Street. I would walk round to Glasgow Central, meet a few of the Glasgow boys, and get the train down for there. And then it was like a 30-minute walk for the train station to Rugby Park. But again, hail, rain or snow, didn't matter. You were a professional football player. It was all the times kicking the ball out with your pals and kicking the ball and battering people's fences. No, that was what you wanted to do. And as I say, you done what you needed to do to get there. You done everything you needed to do when you were there. As I say, with a great first team changing room as well, and the boys were mixed into that right away. So you had to take the knocks, and obviously, probably they called it character building back then. I don't know what it'd be called now, but I like guys like Gordon Marshall, Ian Duran, Ali McCoy, Andy McLaren, Alan Mahood, guys like that. Great guys, great experienced guys, internationalists, played with Old Firm, great banter, and as I say, absolutely loved my upbringing because it was tough at times. It was tough, and now they can say that to the young boys now. They don't know how good they've got it, but I wouldn't swap it for the world. It was the making of you as a man, the making you as a person, and as I say, talking about life skills and life values. And as I say, probably if it wasn't for the first 3 or 4 years at Kilmarnock, with the upbringing you had in the youth team and going on loan, I probably wouldn't have lasted as long or played as long. But as I say, great players with loads of guys like, as I say, goalkeepers like Craig Sampson, Cammy Bell, a great Jim Stewart, a great pathway down there, and as I say, obviously Chris Boyd, Stephen A. Smith, that's went on to bigger and better things, and loads of good players, as I say, even guys that now we're 20 odd years down the line still keep in touch with, and there's guys in various different parts of the world and doing various different jobs now. But as I say, we had a great changing room. As I say, we all used to go on holiday together in the summer, and as I say, it was just friends for life and guys that you always keep in touch with and see how they're getting on.
Brilliant. You go on loan to Queen's Park. When did you first hear about that? And were you excited to go at 19 and get some first team experience?
First heard about it the morning of the game. It was a pre-season game where Bobby Williamson was the manager. So Bobby's come in playing Queen's Park. The first team were playing Queen's Park in a friendly, and it was a case of, I think Queen's Park had phoned up and said their goalie was injured or they didn't have a goalkeeper for that season or whatever it may be. So get the call to go into Bobby's, get the usual, I can't remember what it was, the gaffers want you. So right away you think, oh no, what have I done? So goes in and he says to me, do you want to play for Queen's Park today against us? So again, you're getting to play against Paul Wrights and Craig Dargos and guys like that, and as I say, Ali McCoy and stuff. And I said, I thought it was a kind of test. I said, of course I'll play. So I ended up playing. We got battered 4-0, but had various saves and did away fine. And then all of a sudden, off the back of it, they'd asked me to take me on loan for the season. So great that I'd come out I'd done my under 16s, under 17s. Now it was to go on loan. And as I say, I managed to go there. And again, going back to it, there was tough times. There was, I mean, again, going for Kilmarnock, you think you're going to play every minute, every game and have a worldie every you soon realise when you're there that, hold on, this is men's football and it's not that easy. So again, I think I've maybe played 10, 12, 15 games, dip in form, lose a couple of goals you shouldn't lose, you're out the team. And then it's a bit of, right, are you going to go back to Kilmarnock and sulk, or are you going to knock your pan in and show that you deserve to play? So again, just work away, get back in the team, and then end up by I think by the summer when we played again, we were the worst team in the league. I think it was the third division at that point. You couldn't get relegated. I think we finished 4 or 6 points adrift or something. But you're playing every week against men. You're getting the hard knocks of life, the hard knocks of football. And as I say, coming against experienced strikers that had been in the SPL and were battering you about for corners and free kicks. And again, looking back at it, tough at the time, but looking back at it now, when they swapped it for the world, it was great.
Brilliant. And then obviously after that, you go and loan to Stenhousemuir the season after. You play regular every week in the Stenhousemuir team. And who were the good characters you met in your 2 loan spells?
Queen's Park was quite different. The squad seemed to change quite a lot. See, just because they were amateurs and stuff, it was like boys would come for the juniors and maybe stay for 6 to 7 weeks, and then they would leave and they would go away again. I mean, don't get me wrong, I remember the guys that like proper stalwarts at Queen's Park, the guys that played 10, 12 years, like boy Tony Quinn, who I think still involved now, and Richie Sinclair and guys like that, who they played there most of their days. Going to Stenhousemuir, again, it was kind of my first kind of introduction to first team football was John McCormick was the manager. And then obviously the next season was John McVeigh. So two well-known characters in the game that don't mince their words. But again, they were great for me. As I say. I think John had brought up, with Stenhousemuir being part-time at that time, John had brought a lot of guys that he'd known for Airdrie and Partick Thistle in his previous clubs, and he basically, they knew him and he knew them, and he got the best out of him. That pretty much summed up John as a manager. He would put his trust in you. He would be one of these guys that you didn't want to let down, and if you were looking after him in terms of playing well and performing well, he would look after you. As I say, don't get me wrong, they were tough, but a lot of the good characters in that team, as I say, a lot of boys for Airdrie that I'm still friendly with now, in terms of Stuart Easton and Scott Murphy and guys like that. And as I say, a couple of guys that, as I say, probably went for full time and had something to prove. And that was John. That was John to a T. He knew how to. He knew how to get characters, and he knew how to get people that had something to prove, and he would almost help people in a way, in terms of like, go and show them then a wee bit of grit and steel and determination to prove people wrong. And as I say, that was pretty much the kind of the Airdrie spirit that I remember growing up when they got to the cup finals and stuff. And as I say, in the early 90s and stuff. So that was a kind of give it again. It was another level up as well. It was a second division this time, and we just missed out in the playoffs. We need a couple of big teams in there. Obviously, Raith Rovers with full time and all the money and stuff. So but to walk away at 19, just turning 20, with like 50 odd appearances under my belt over 2 seasons at men's football was great for me.
And then you went to come back to Kilmarnock as a better player? Absolutely.
I think probably the most important bit. I mean, again, the coaching staff at Kilmarnock were great at that point, because when it was first Bobby Williamson, and then it was Jim Jeffries. It was, if you were good enough and you showed you were good enough, you would get opportunities to train with the first team. But Big Jim Stewart was great at that as well. He would dip you into the odd shooting practice, or he would dip you into the wee small sided games just to really test you. And that was his probably skill as a coach, to see, well, he's handling that so he can carry on, or that's a wee bit too much for him at this age, so we'll pull him back. And as I say, that's something that I take in my coaching now, is in terms of, it's great to keep challenging people, because you went through under 16s, under 18s, where you were the main man and you were making saves and everything you done was 100%, and all of a sudden you were going into train with guys like Gordon Marshall and Colin Meldrum, who were seasoned pros and were physically more capable. So all of a sudden you were catching like 6 and 7 out of 10 or 4 and 5 out of 10. You were thinking, oh my God, I'm nowhere near this. But again, it gives you that wee intrinsic bit to fight against it and get better and go and work on the things you're no good at, or you need to improve on. And again, that's when you go and then you can be 10 out of 10 and you're getting physically stronger and physically fitter, then you can go and match it with these guys. And that's ultimately how you get the respect of them, is by doing the same as them and being accepted in that company, is by doing the hard work. And then probably going away and getting the rough and tumble environment, that there's consequences to lose. Like that first season with Queen's Park, like if you're not performing, there's consequences. You don't play. It doesn't matter that you're a young boy coming from Kilmarnock, you don't play. So it's the consequences of, right, I'm not performing, how do I perform better, how do I get more consistent? So it's the bits where, again, if you can go and handle that, you go back in, and when you're dealing with the small sided games or the shooting practices, whatever, with the first team guys, you can handle it a wee bit better because you've had far more experience yet, and you've been exposed to the ball being quicker, the ball being hit faster, and the game being quicker. So yeah, it did help me. Obviously, you've still got a lot to prove in terms of stepping up for the third division and the second division, but training every day with you guys, obviously, it benefited me massively. But I would definitely say, as I say before, my 2 loan spells, if it wasn't for them, they gave me the grounding to go and have a proper career. And as I say, that's something that I encourage. That's something that I encourage quite a lot with my young goalies now.
Brilliant. You obviously go back to Kilmarnock and Jim Jeffries and Billy Brown. Just how good were they for you as well?
Brilliant, great. Again, tough, and didn't mince their words, and there was no quarter given as such. It was just basically, again, if you were performing well, you were in their thoughts, and they would look after you. If you weren't performing well, then they would let you know. But that was part of being a full-time changing room. The only unfortunate thing, when I was quite close to getting in the first team, I got a bad injury. And as I say, it kind of kept me out for a wee while, and probably they ended up bringing in a couple of goalkeepers that I thought I was close to getting there. And as I say, the injury kind of set me back a couple of months, and then it probably wasn't until the next season, or the end of that season, that I could really turn around and say that I was not established in the first team, but as I say, I was part of that first team environment.
Definitely. You made your debut for Kilmarnock against Hearts in a 1-1 draw. How nervous were you to make your first team debut, and how good an experience was it? I
wasn't nervous at all, to be honest, because it wasn't as if I knew I was starting the game. It was a substitute appearance, so it was almost like I've been out at half time. The game was live on the BBC, obviously, but you don't really think about these things till after it. I've been out warming up. Typical boys come out the tunnel to start the second half, so I went away in, done the toilet, got myself a wee juice, a wee Jaffa cake, whatever it may be. Then all of a sudden, the kit man comes sprinting down the tunnel. You need to get ready. Melly's done his calf. So obviously Colin Meldham had done his calf within about, must have been the first 2 or 3 minutes. So again, it was just one of the ones, right? Get stripped, get gloves. The only thing you're thinking is, right, am I warmed up properly? So, but the fact you've been at half time, so yeah, go on, and just different level of concentration required to probably the other leagues where you're on TV. You've got a far bigger crowd there, but again, it's just one of the things you've got to concentrate and make sure that everything you do is. And again, I think we drew one each, or a couple of okay saves. I think I had a save after maybe 5-10 minutes. It kind of settled me in, and again, you're just looking to get. You're almost looking just to get through the game and tick it off and say, right, that's me made my debut, and then hopefully more come from there. But certainly an enjoyable experience, and one I'll always remember.
Brilliant. You played twice more that season. Were you hopeful going into next season? The next season that you would kind of get there, you would become the number one for Kilmarnock?
I was always willing for the fight, but I knew fine well that not necessarily Kilmarnock were going to go with a 20-year-old goalkeeper in goals for a full season. I mean, it was probably times have changed a little bit now, and I always remember the situation with Cammy Bell as well, and Cammy was ready to leave because he wasn't getting his opportunity then. So all of a sudden, Jimmy Calder would come in and played him, and he was a regular at such a young age. But that was always my debate with Jim Jeffries, and again, I've spoke to him since it. I've spoken to him a few times, going up to Edinburgh City to watch loan goalies and stuff, and his thing was that he felt as if the goalkeeping position was a position that you needed experience in. Yeah. And Kilmarnock, when I was growing up, had went with Gordon Marshall, who was 35 plus when he played with Kilmarnock, and again had some really fantastic seasons with Kelly. Then obviously they brought in Alan Combe, which again, Coleman was experienced, knew the SPL, he played down south, so it was that bit of, well, I wanted to try and get experience, but the only way you get that is by playing. And then, as I say, the managers was understanding that they needed to be experienced to play at that particular period. I think he'd maybe change his mind nowadays, but as I say, that was just what we're in. But I think the 2 games I played was after the split, when we didn't really have anything to play for. As I say, again, I had another couple of good showings, so you felt good going into the summer, and you wanted to work hard to come back and prove that you could compete with the guys that were there. But I was under no illusions. I knew he was going to bring somebody in, and it was going to be obviously somebody experienced with the goalies that were moving on. So, but again, always up for the fight.
And obviously, you said there that Kilmarnock signed Alan Coleman. You played 6 times in the 04-05 season. What was it like? What did you feel you had to do to kind of get to the next level?
Play regularly. That was the thing. I'd went for playing regularly albeit with my wee spell out, but with my 2 loan spells, I felt as if over a period I'd played well. I'd managed to keep myself in the team, and for the most part. And obviously, listen, it's a massive jump to go to the SPL at that point, especially for such a young kind of inexperienced goalkeeper as such. So, as I say, it was just, I felt as if I was coming in when Comer was having wee niggles, and again there was man of the match performances, there was clean sheets, there was penalty saves, but all of a sudden, anytime he was fit, he was getting back in the team. And listen, I was a wee bit, you were annoyed at the time. Now you look back on it, you can go into coaching myself, you can totally understand the manager's point of view, and again, that was, it's a results driven business, and again, maybe to a certain extent it was protecting me, the fact that I was only getting in for 1 or 2 games, which is, I always say this as well, you get in for 1 or 2 games and everything's rosy and adrenaline gets you through games and there's nothing really bad goes against you. Once you maybe play 10, 12 games in a row, you can maybe start to see people's consistency levels, and there might be a wee thing goes against them and you see how they handle it. Probably that happened the season after, which again was then one of the reasons why I wanted to play every week, because I think that season I only played 6 games, but again, felt as if anytime I performed it, I performed to a reasonable standard, and that's the only way you get a reputation to try and play. And again, the season after, if memory serves me correct, I think Comer was just struggling a wee bit more with his injuries, so instead of playing 1 or 2 games, me and out the team, you were actually playing 5 or 6, and then it was kind of, he was back to fitness, so that kind of was obviously beneficial as well, and try to put more consistent performances together.
Yeah, definitely. Who were the good players that you played alongside then? Like, and what was it the kind of best memories you've got there?
Loads of good players over the period, as I said. I mean, again, going back to the youth system, like Alan Robertson in the youth system, and Stuart McLean and that, who was there when I was younger. The amount of players that they've actually got to the first team over the period was great. As I say, so many people made their debuts, but not just making their debuts once or twice and then going away. Guys that would go and end up to play, as I say, 50, 100 games and beyond, and guys who would sell for money like Boydie, Nazy, as I say, Cammy Bell was there. There was, even before me, like Peter Canero, Paul Di Giacomo, James Fowler, guys like that. Obviously Fowler's now working back at the club as well. As I say, it was great. It was a good family club that gave youngsters a chance, but ultimately you had to be good enough as well, and that was the thing. But as I say, there was loads of good players within that time. I even remember not necessarily playing a lot with them, but even just reserve games, guys like Christophe Cocard and Freddie Hindaloo and guys like that, who were great experienced players. And obviously the Scottish internationals as well, the Andy McLarens, and as I say, you had the McCoys and the Durants, and you had guys who were proper professionals, as I say, like Ali Mitchell, and as I say, Chris Innes, Jimmy O'Loughlin, guys like that. And as I say, they really opened your eyes in terms of what you had to do on a daily basis and what you had to do to stay at the top. And as I say, these were guys that probably went under the radar, but they were massively important for Killie at that time.
What's your favourite Jim Jeffries story?
I've got hundreds, but I just used to. I'm uptight when I'm in the goals and everything matters and all the wee things, but there's some times where you're playing and like you maybe hit a pass back, you maybe shank a pass back into the stand, and he'd shout at you and you go, hand up, fair enough, sorry, apologies gaffer. And then like 5 minutes, 10 minutes would pass, and we'd maybe had a chance and they've had a chance and I've made a save, and he's still shouting at you about the right kick. Like, gaffer, that happened 10 minutes ago, going to leave it. You're going to give me a complex here. But again, that was just the bit that they demanded a high standard, and that was just Scottish professional football. And again, it's the reason that these guys were winners, and the reason that they were so successful, and he obviously wanted to be really successful. Again, wanted to be really successful with Hearts and down at Bradford, and obviously back at Kilmarnock. It was, as I say, it was just one of these that was the standards and that was the expectations demanded of you, and it was shape up or ship out, and that was the biggest thing. So as I say, yeah, just some of the things that him and Billy were great. I mean, don't get me wrong, they calmed down, but obviously back and played against them a few times, and they kind of calmed down and stuff. But I think at that period when they were kind of in their prime and in their pomp, some of them they get used to absolutely irate. But it was, again, it was just that they demanded the standard for people, and they gave that standard all the time, every day in training and the games and stuff. They gave you everything. So if you didn't give you 100% back, or it wasn't bang on, then they weren't long telling you about it. That's for sure.
Brilliant. There was a few of your old teammates on at Kilmarnock, like Sir Gary Hay, Colin Nash, Gary Wales. There were a few of them on, and they've spoke about how good the dressing room was. How good was it? Who was it? Who were the good characters in it?
It was great. The older changing room was brutal. See when I was younger, and that, like even like that group of players I'm talking about, like Alan Mahood, Coyce, you just thought they were the kind of pattern merchants and that. But everybody go to it. Doesn't matter whether you're a first team player or whether you're a first team player, whether you're a youth player. And I mean, I know some of the youth players, and probably myself included at times, you would actually dread getting into the changing room and pick up like the slips or do jobs or not. You know what I mean? You had to go in and get the boots and the slips and the take the buggies away and like, or if you were in the physio room, there was a couple of first team players in. I mean, sometimes it was tough. It was like, that was the time, in fact, when the Royal Family came out. Mm-hmm. And see, for about the first 6 weeks, I had never watched it, and I just kept getting Anthony, and I'm going, I don't know what they're talking about here. So sure enough, it was Alan Mahood that let me in. I think he was the one that started it. So I go Anthony for about 2 years, see, because the Royal Family was massive and obviously had the big beak in that and looked like Ralph Little. I just got Anthony for 2 years. So I say it was only when you kind of went into the changing room, you were actually sitting in it every day, that they kind of took it easier on you. But there was a couple of, like, I could tell you a few stories about Boydie. And I mean, even Big Nishy, like, daft as a brush. Like, he used to travel with David Fernandez, and so he just obviously at lunch night be sitting going, what's happening? Nishy, David's teaching me Spanish for when I go on my holidays. He's been teaching me Spanish in the motor when I go on my holidays. I was like, where are you going? To Florida. I'm expecting to say Tenerife or Lanzarote or something. Just great changing room, good banter, full of good, honest guys, young guys that just wanted to perform and wanted to play well and as I say, play regularly. And as I say, we had a lot of success off the back of it. As I say, even culminating in the League Cup final. But as I say, probably the final was just a stage too short. I just don't think we did myself justice on the day. Don't get me wrong, playing against a good, strong, young Hibs team as well. But we had, as I say, a great changing room at that time. It was really good, and some of the nights out and the pre-season trips were good as well.
Brilliant. You played 31 times in your last season at Kilmarnock. Did you always kind of want to stay on and kind of become solidify your place at number one, or was there other offers to go elsewhere at that point?
There were a couple of offers to go elsewhere. There was a couple for down south. There was one for abroad, but I did want to stay, if I'm honest. But having a chat with the manager, and I felt as if I'd done well enough to then be kind of in the frame for being number one, almost as if it was my jersey to lose. But obviously having a chat with the manager, and he said, look, it would be a fair fight, and etc. And as I say, we had a couple of discussions that went back and forward, and probably, but when it got to the point when I kind of mulled it over and obviously spoke to my dad and my representatives and stuff, that I thought, well, I might need to go somewhere else to play regularly. And then obviously when I was on my holidays, then I was contacted by Rangers, and then obviously that put a totally different spin on things, and that's obviously where I chose to go next.
And how did you love your time at Kilmarnock?
As I say, nothing but respect for the club. Everybody that never left in bad terms. It was never as if I was harshly treated or anything like that. It was just one of those things where I'd made my decision, and as I say, the upbringing I'd had for Bobby Williamson and Jerry McCabe, Jim Clark, Alan Robertson, right through to Jim Jeffries and Billy Brown, and obviously with Jim Stewart being there for a bit as well. As I say, great club with great values, and I say it only goes to show that the amount of players that have actually came through the system that I mean, there's no many clubs that happens. They get as many regular players through and as many regular seasons playing playing a lot of numbers as well. And as I say, you only even you look at the last couple of years, like the boy going to Celtic, and as I say, Boyd and Nazy making money out of them, and that's kind of the club. Arguably, that's the kind of club that Kilmarnock is. They can rear their own and send them on, but we get a bit of success in the meantime. Then, as I say, that they're and then obviously a couple of good cup victories in the last wee while as well. So, and funnily enough, when my second son, so he's 8, and I always remember in the hospital when Kilmarnock were playing Celtic in the League Cup final, and he was obviously he was born on the 18th of March, so it was the same day that Dieter van Toornhout scored for Kelly, and as I say, the wee man was nearly called Dieter. As a result.
Brilliant. So when you move on to Rangers, obviously, when do you said that you heard about it first on holiday? How did the process come about to go and sign?
Phone call for Ian Durant, just basically asking who my representation was with. Obviously, just passed on, and basically the ball went rolling for there. And then, as I say, I'd been in. My agent at that time was Dan Jackson.
Right.
So, as I say, Jacko was back and forward on the phone to Jacko anyway, because it was quite obviously I was out of contract come the end of that month, and there was quite a lot. I was free to speak to whoever anyway. So I had quite a lot of dialogue with him over the couple of weeks anyway, in terms of different clubs, and obviously when he said that Rangers were involved, it was okay, right? So and then, as I say, when I come back my holidays, it was really, that's when the ball started to roll, and we started to discuss obviously the possibility of me signing.
And what was your first impressions when you met Walter Smith and Ali McCoist?
Well, I'd known Coisty for Kilmarnock, which was good. Obviously Durant as well, being a coach, and as I say, the opportunity to go and to be part of that club, and obviously with the type of players that were there at that time. Listen, I was under no illusions. I wasn't expecting to walk straight into the team. I knew that. I mean, at that point, there was obviously coming off the back of the Paul Le Guen when there was a couple of players leaving, but the gaffer Walter was trying to bring in as many players as he could in terms of that were going to be to make sure that they could sustain a title challenge and keep winning trophies, and that's exactly what he did. And as I say, that just meant that the competition was tougher, going to a bigger club, more bodies. Again, with a team of international players. I mean, there was certain guys that played 50-60 games in the country and couldn't go on the bench. It was just that was the way it was. But again, it was training environment, training facilities for a start, training environment in terms of just everything was, you just had to win. That was the mentality of the place. Didn't matter whether it was darts in the changing room, whether it was small-sided games on a Friday, whether it was sprints, whether it was testing in the gym. Just everybody had a willingness and a single mindedness just to win, and that was why we were so successful.
Yeah, and obviously you said there about competition. Like Alan McGregor was just coming off a brilliant season the season before, and Walter also signed Roy Carroll. Was your target just straight away just to try and get as close to them as possible? Or?
Yeah, it was just a challenge. As I say, I've never shipped away for a challenge. Listen, some have went for me, some have went against me, but I've never. That's just the type of person I'm. Never shirk away for it, because again, it's like anything you learn in life. Nothing, you don't get anything for nothing. You've got to fight and work for and be prepared to put the hard graft in to get most things in life. So as I say, yeah, it was just Griggsy again, similar to the season before. Like even Griggsy was in a situation where I think he was almost out the door. I think he was almost going to. I think it was Forest, was it?
Yeah.
And then again, Lionel Latizi, he managed to displace Lionel Latizi again, and that was him obviously with the Gwen moving on, and so did Lionel Latizi, and Griggsy ended up. As I say, there was a lot of the young Scottish players at that point ended up finishing the league strongly. And as I say, obviously the next year we added Roy, and Roy was exactly the same. It was like that year we played. I think Roy played the first League Cup game, which was East Fife, and obviously he left in the January, and I played the first Scottish Cup game, which was East Stirling. Yeah. And Griggsy played the rest, because again, Griggsy was. I mean, he's just went and played his 400 odd game now over 2 spells, but. Just the fact that, again, just training with these guys that just had an incredible determination to be the best that they could be, and say that really opened my mind up to how hard it is at the top level in terms of fitness, nutrition, everything mattered, every single wee thing mattered, how you lived, and as I say, it was a phenomenal changing room to be in. There was no cliques. There was no even the American guys and the French guys and the Spanish guys, and they just everybody got on, and we had a great team spirit. And as I say, I think a lot of times that was what got us over the line in games and stuff as well. Yeah. It's just that incredible team spirit. And as I say, that was one thing that Walter and the gaffer and Coisty and Durante and that being there, and Kenny McDowell as well. They were good. They were a good link between the coaches and the changing room as well. But I say it was something that again was done by design, and it wasn't through chance. That they knew what they were doing by putting these people in these places, and as I say, it worked for us for the most part.
And see, when obviously the start of that season, who was Walter signed a lot of good players, but who did you feel was really, really good to play alongside in the dressing room?
Well, again, I think going back to try to think of the pre-season, there was like 10 or 12 people had come in for pre-season. So there's myself and Roy, Carlos Quella had come in, Kurt Broadfoot signed a pre-contract. There was Alan Gow, Marcus Beasley, guys like that. There was another couple that
McCulloch, I think Naismith joined that season as well.
McCulloch as well. So I mean, again, guys that come in and as I say, not necessarily played right away, but again had to earn their stripes and try and find their way into the team. The difference between my position was me and Roy were trying to get Griggs's jersey off him, and Griggsy was performing to a great standard every week. So that was one of the reasons that Roy left, again, because international goalkeeper had played in the Premier League, had an opportunity to go back to Derby and play every week. And again, it was, as I say, it was just an opportunity that I would never pass by again. As I say, it was great to go and work with these guys, and as I say, the competition for places was incredible. Like as I say, there was guys that couldn't even go on the bench. It was such a big squad, but as I say, the standard in training, there was nobody mumping and moaning. It was the standard in training every day was incredible. And as I say, that I've always said as well, you train how you play, and that's the way that you get results.
And you made your debut against East Stirling in the Scottish Cup. How good a feeling was that to be out at Ibrox finally and making your debut?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, played a couple of times there before, but it's no better than playing with the crowd behind you. I can't remember how many was there that night, 30,000 or something. But even that, just that bit of, it wasn't actually until you look back on it that you realise how good a team we had actually, and that was the kind of the second team playing. And again, you had guys like Alan Gow, Kurt Broadfoot, I think Carlos played. There was, I think Lee McCulloch played. There was, like as I say, just the depth of the squad was massive. I know we ended up winning 6-0, but you come for a couple of crosses, you make a couple of saves, you deal with your pass backs, and you keep a clean sheet. And as I say, that's all you can really do. But the most important bit for me was it was a huge night for my family, because again, growing up Rangers fans, and as I said, obviously I signed my shirt and gave it to my dad. He still got it, obviously. But as I say, just for all the times that he drove me here and he drove me to Kilmarnock, and all the sacrifices that he'd made previously and over the years to get me to that point. As I say, it was nice for them to be there, and my brother and that, and to see me playing in a Rangers strip, because as I say, they'd watch me play with Kilmarnock, and my wee stints with every now and again with Scotland and stuff like that. They'd travel to see me, but to see me actually in a Rangers strip at Ibrox and keep a clean sheet. It was very, very proud moment for them and myself.
Brilliant. MD, if you ask anybody the memories of that season, they'll say the run to Manchester. What was your favourite moments for that run to the UEFA Cup final?
Probably again, they never say die attitude. Yeah, the run to Manchester was phenomenal. Obviously, what had happened previously to that was a bit disappointing, but just the amount of games we had and things like that. And it is, again, I mean, it was just one of the times where the team just a great work ethic, as I say, great team spirit. Never knew it would be. Everybody had each other's backs. And as I say, that's one of the reasons that we, I mean, it's all saying you don't lose goals, don't lose games, but we always had a knack of scoring. And as I say, the Big Davy and Carlos and that at the back, and you look back at that season, Big Davy was, I think, 39 at that point, 38, 39. He played like, I don't know how many games, but Carlos had played like 60 games that year.
Carlos was unbelievable.
Fergie played 60 games that year. Nacho was great, always popping up with goals, and as I say, the lead up to Manchester and everything about it was phenomenal. As I say, disappointed that we never did ourselves justice on the night. As I say, a game I've never ever watched back actually. And as I say, it's just, but obviously the more disappointing bit for me was, it sounds daft, but I remember after at Pittodrie, I think it was a Tuesday night at Pittodrie, and then obviously Celtic had won at Tannadice, and as I say, the disappointment at Aberdeen, and I remember just sitting to the back with the proper Rangers men like Davy Lavery and Jimmy Bell and that, and we were all close to tears. I think we were all close to tears. But as I say, that's the greatness of football. It can take you so high. I mean, I remember the euphoria after Sporting Lisbon. Remember the euphoria after Werder Bremen, after Panathinaikos, after Fiorentina. You remember all that, and as I say, but equally you remember the disappointments as well. But as I say, that's the way football is. Like, you get incredible highs and incredible lows, but as I say, we made up for it the next year by winning the league at Tannadice. And
the season after your second season, what was your favourite kind of stories for the dressing room and things like that? How good was the atmosphere?
Brilliant. As I say, just listen, it's always easy when you're winning games. That's the beauty of football. As I say, nothing really needs fixed, and there's nobody remembers the wee silly things if everybody's winning. Everybody starts to grate on people about team selection and why is this player not playing that. The only things only come out when you're not winning. That's just a human nature. But as I say, that season, the fact that again, the disappointment of probably the season before has spurred us on in terms of just getting over the line and finishing things. And as I say, obviously the disappointment at the very start of the season going out to Kaunas, that was always huge, because we'd went for the year before we having Barcelona, Stuttgart and Lyon in the group, and you've got 7 points after 3 games. You think, we're cruising this, and then to have the disappointment, obviously the Lyon game at Ibrox, and then you go in that phenomenal run to Manchester. Disappointed, obviously you don't win the league, but the next year, to say the bit was between the teeth for everybody, just to make sure that we won the bread and butter, which is the league. And as I say, like, listen, we had a couple of great. We used to have like great days out, and that was a big thing. It wasn't like, even go, but you look back at the 9 in a row and you think, oh, that was just the era, but it wasn't. We would go out for lunch together, and as I say, it wasn't like certain players would shun away or listen, alcohol involved. Even the ones that didn't drink alcohol, they were always there. They were always part of it. As I say, we had a great group where, as I say, I think that's a massive thing when it comes to trying to compete and trying to win things, that nobody's there on their own, or you're not leaving them to dry. Everybody's got your back, and everybody's there together, and everybody fights together. And as I say, you win together and you lose together. And that was very much that team. As I say, it was some great characters in that changing room, and as I say, guys that were maybe only there for a season or two. I think you like Darsh and Big Daniel and guys like that, and then obviously like Brahim kind of gets forgotten about as well. But like Brahim, the European games, Brahim was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. As I say, it was like, I'm looking at the wee boy Thiago yesterday in the Liverpool game, and it's like nobody gets near him. He just touches, he knows where to be, and he knows when to dribble, knows when to pass, and not necessarily unbelievable in the eye, but people that know football and just know how effective these guys were. And as I say, just just came to mind there. But there's been loads of players like that who they maybe only there 6 months or a year, but they were massively important. Obviously, going with the spiny like Griggsy and Davy and Fergie, and obviously even Boydie. But Boydie in the European games was different. It was very, very rarely utilised. It was always Big Daniel, and then Boydie would come in for the Old Firm games. And again, I can always remember Charlie scoring the winner. Scoring the equaliser against Stuttgart, and that's the penalty. And then the next game, Charlie was on the bench. Just one of the ones where that was the depth of squad, and the talented players that came in did a job as well. And as I say, there was people disappointed, but they always got over it. And the competition for places and the fact that everybody was pals and everybody looked out for each other was, as I say, there was no thoughts, there was no toys getting through at the pram. It was everybody was in it together. As I say, there was no better feeling that when you're standing on the pitch after Tannadice and all that stuff throughout the season is worthwhile.
Definitely. See, obviously at the end of that season, well, you mentioned there about Neil Alexander and Alan McGregor were two really like top class goalkeepers when we were playing. Like, did you feel that to get first team opportunities you had to go elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, it's just circumstances. Sometimes I even remember like games where obviously when Griggsy done his ankle and there was games where I ended up on the bench, but there was also games where, like, I think it was a game at Easter Road where I think nearly been out for a couple of weeks, and obviously I'd been on the bench, and then I think Griggsy got sent off, and that was the first game that nearly been back on the bench. So it's just like wee things like that, and timing and circumstance and fate, or whatever you want to call it. It's just sometimes things go well for you, and sometimes timing doesn't go well for you. And again, it's like one of the ones where, well, if you go in there and you play well, do you stay in the team, or do you show more people that? Again, because it's a lot of times at big clubs, second and third choice can get forgot about until they're actually playing, and that's the biggest thing. The hardest thing is to get in the team. I mean, no disrespect to Kilmarnock and St Johnstone's and other teams have been it, but normally the first team squad run with two goalkeepers. You're either playing or you're on the bench, and then if the other player's injured or suspended or lack of form, you're playing. Whereas at a bigger club, it's harder because you could have 3 and 4 guys vying for the same position. So, yeah, just one of the things where, again, when St John's, looking back at the end of that season, I still had a year left in my contract, and that was probably my crossroads where I thought, right, I'm going to make a decision here in terms of, am I still staying to fight it out, or am I going to go and use the last 2 years of training and games and being involved in certain things and put it to good use? And I chose the latter.
And do you look back in your time at Rangers, your 2 seasons there with nothing but fond memories?
Oh, great. As I say, club had supported as a boy, want to sign you. As I say, being even for the supporters bit and that, being released at 15 and then coming back like 10 years later as a first team player, and they want to sign you, and again going into that environment where, listen, you're surrounded by international players, you're surrounded by guys that have been there and done it and got loads of trophies in their cabinet, and as I say, to be involved in that environment every day, and as I say, it's probably now when you look at the time you're a bit disappointed because with certain stages, because you always think, oh, that was a wee chance here, or that was a wee chance here. But when you look at over the period, over the last, I don't know how long, with Griggs' 400 odd games, I mean, he's kept loads of goalies out. It's not as if I was just at a bad time. It's like, this is the reason why these guys are top and they're at the top of their game, because they keep he's kept so many goalkeepers at the team, because they say that's the be all and end all. There's only one thing that matters at Rangers, and it's winning. As I say, so it's probably stealing Griggs' part for the last couple of interviews. But it doesn't matter whether you're, as I said before, it doesn't matter whether you're playing Barcelona or you're playing Berwick Rangers. Like, you've got to win every game you play, and that's the demands of the club and demands of the fans, and that will never ever change. And as I say, there's times we timing things could have went in my favour, but listen, it's not something that you're going to moan about. That to be there at that time and to be part of that group and to have enjoyed so many successful occasions, and as I say, it's something that you look back now and it's something you're quite proud of, because as I say, there's probably better players than me that have never won a trophy, and as I say, for me to be a big daft boy for Airdrie to go and do that, and as I say, I've got fond memories of that, and as I say, it's something you'll be telling the kids and the grandkids.
Brilliant. You move on to St Johnstone. Derek McKinnon signed you for St Johnstone. Were you excited to go to Perth?
Yeah, again, that was one of the ones where they wanted to take me in loan, but again, thinking about it and having a year left in my contract, where it was one of the ones where, well, there's no point in playing 10 consistent games and doing well, and then all of a sudden you're playing the Rangers game at Ibrox, or you're on the TV and you can't play because it's your parent club. So I felt it was just best to move on. And again, you go into it, we'd already started our pre-season, so I ended up joining up with St Johnstone over in Ireland. So I ended up playing a couple of games over there, and then it was like the last 10 minutes of the last game. I don't even know how I done it, but as I say, just went to ping the ball. All of a sudden you hear a wee noise, and then that's a bit. My thigh was really sore. Like, honestly, couldn't have passed about 5 yards in the last 10 minutes of the game. So come back, get a scan, 7 centimetre tear in my thigh. So no a great start, but again, it was one of the ones where you just fight your way back to fitness. You do all the work that you're asked to do. You do a wee bit extra, and then all of a sudden, managed to make my debut in the Derby. So we played Dundee United in the Cup. I think it was CIS quarter final or the fourth round.
Yeah.
It was fourth round, and then we ended up 1-2-1. That was my debut under the lights at McDermott. And again, that season, I think I wanted to play like 20 or 30 odd games. So for the situation I was in last year, for the season before, where I wanted to just go and play and put that training and that into good practice, even though I never made my debut in October, I think I played every game between then and the summer. So, as I say, it turned out to be a successful first season to a point.
And who were the good kind of dressing room characters in there?
Again, we had a couple of good ones, Jody Morris and Peter McDonald, and guys like Liam Craig, even Colin Samuel first year, Kenny Duker, guys like that, guys that had been successful in the SPL. And as I say, there was again a club at St Johnstone. I think we got to both semi-finals that year. I think
that's right.
As I say, obviously we come up against a Rangers team again. You're playing against the old players, and we went. I think we went down 2-1 or 3-1, but disappointing that we never got to the final. But again, you're playing an old firm team in a semi-final, so. But managed to save an easy penalty. That was the most important thing.
I remember that. And you played 33 times in that first season. Were you glad you were back and kind of enjoying football again?
Aye, that's a bit. It's remembering people that you're still about and you're still decent and you still, as I say, you've still got the necessary tools to play every week. As I say, going for, as I said before, a club at Rangers sometimes are bigger clubs that the second and third choice gets forgot about, whereas as I say, the whole reason everybody wants to play is obviously to be a footballer is to play every week, but it's harder than it seems. So as I say, to go and play 30 odd games that year, considering I never made my debut to October, was pleasing. And as I say, you just want to kick on the next season, and then obviously there's injuries come back into the mix, and that's where that disappointment comes in. So.
And obviously the season after that, Peter Enkelman comes in. Was there a bit of kind of healthy competition at first for you, for places?
Yeah. Pre-season we'd played game about, and as I say, I played most of the game. I know Peter came in later because obviously Alan and Wayne had left and they had to bring in a goalkeeper. As I say, probably didn't expect it to be the calibre of Peter with obviously the club, but great that the club managed to get somebody like that, and Peter went on to become a really good goalkeeper for St Johnstone. As I say, it was just one of the things where, again, it's one of the things that's out with your hands. You managed to have a good pre-season and you're ready for the season to start, and then as obviously the manager chose actually Peter to play in the game at Hearts, but then after that it's just, as I say, cut and niggly injuries, it keeps you out, and then you get back and another wee niggly injury, and it was just that probably started a kind of frustrating 2-year period in my career. That was really where things were just again, talk about luck and timing and everything like that. Probably that was the wee bit of my. I'd had so much success, I'd had so much going for me up until then. Probably that was due a wee bit of payback then. As I say, a couple of frustrating years beyond that. But again, great club. Love my time there. Just disappointing that I never got more appearances than I did.
And then after that, obviously you leave, and after 2 seasons and go to St Mirren. It was Danny Lennon that brought you into St Mirren. Were you excited at first to go into St Mirren, thinking that it was going to be a good time in your career?
Absolutely. As I say, going for the disappointing year before, I'd kind of played now and again, and again there was a couple of games I played, and an injury would take over, and things like that. So the appearances, I can't remember how many appearances I made that year. I think maybe 12 or 15 or something. But as I say, they were very patchy, just through, as I say, niggly injuries and things like that. So going to St Mirren was a fresh start. Was really looking forward to it. Can always remember that one as well, because the season had started on the Saturday, but Dunfermline had just been promoted, so I think the game had been moved to the Monday night due to Sky.
Right.
And the Saturday when we were training, I broke my finger. So you went there thinking, right, you're going to start the season, and it's going to be an opportunity for you to play listen, you can't look too far ahead, but good chance to start and try and obviously a new club and show the fans what you can do. And as I say, broke my finger like with 2 games to go. With 2 days to go before the first game. I think we drew 0-0 the first game, and then as I say, Craig Sampson obviously was playing at that point, and Sammy had a pretty consistent season, and it's just one of the ones where you've just got to sit and take your medicine. As I say, any time he had a wee wobble, he bounced back pretty quickly, and as I say, managed it was his jersey to lose. So as I say, he managed to do enough to keep it for the season, and the manager went with that. So say just one of the ones where you've just got to sit and take your medicine and work as hard as you can and play your reserve games and keep yourselves fit and as active as possible, hoping that you get an opportunity and then you can do yourself justice. But unfortunately, just through the form of the team and the form of Sammy, that just really that opportunity never really came.
Do you regret making the move to St Mirren, or was it just unlucky?
No, I don't. Again, I think if circumstances had just have been slightly different and a wee bit of the rub of the green, as I say, I would have started that campaign. And then, listen, if I'd have played 10 or 11 games and I was at the team, then you can hold your hands up and do that. As I say, it's just see when it's up to you, and that's one thing I've always said throughout your career. All you want is the opportunity. If you don't do yourself justice, or if you don't perform, then that's on you. And I would always hold my hands up to that. And if I was out the team, but they say just wee things like that where it's injuries and it's almost out with the control. They become the wee bit more frustrating bits. Yeah. Whereas if you're given an opportunity to play and you don't perform, you can't have any qualms about no playing. Whereas, as I say, when it's an injury like that, and it's just the timing of it, and it's like anything else, it's like you can play through a rolled ankle and you can play through a sore knee, and as I did later in my career, but again, just playing with a broken finger, it's just not really feasible for a goalkeeper to do that.
And obviously you leave St Mirren at the end of that season. What did you do after you left? Was there kind of thoughts about what was happening outside football at that point?
Yeah, well, I was 29 at that point, so again, I had a couple of moves to various clubs that kind of fell through people no moving on and kind of financial situation and stuff where there was a cut of bits and pieces that looked as if they were going to be over the line, and then they never happened and stuff. So I ended up, my agent at that time was Darren Jackson, so he was coming away for the agency, which I totally understood. So he was starting to go into coaching. So actually, Jackie McNamara and Simon Donnelly were at Partick Thistle, so they gave me the opportunity to train. Just still taking over. So trained with them kind of for pre-season. Again, just hoping something would still happen. And then obviously for pre-season up to about October. And then I had a few clubs that had kind of part-time clubs that had said to me, look, can you come and train with us? We would like to sign you, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, well, I'll not be disrespectful, but I've played SPL all my days. I like to think I've still got something to offer in SPL, and I want to try and stay there. But when I got to the October, I was 30 in October. So when I got to August, September, and I thought, I'm going to look at the next bit now. And obviously the next bit for me was going to be coaching, because I felt as if I'd played enough and I'd experienced enough that I could pass on to the next generation. So, and I know, as I say, I've loved football since I could walk. So it was something I always wanted to stay in the game. So I started to look at my badges then, starting to do my coaching badges, and as I say, I said to Partick Thistle, obviously Partick Thistle wanted to sign me, but there just wasn't any funds available to do that, and so all they could do was give me the opportunity to train. So got to a point where in October I decided to take one of the part-time teams up on their offer, which was Peterhead. So I signed with Peterhead. Well, I went up for a couple of training sessions, met the boys. Obviously, I knew the assistant manager at the time. He was one of the main factors in me going, and I seen the opportunity that obviously they were in League Two, and Rangers were in the league. Rangers were in the league as well. So I thought, well, good opportunity. You'll probably get a little bit more exposure in that league than say you maybe will in the Championship. So anyway, took them up on their offer, signed in November, played League Two, had a couple of games against, in fact, I think my first game was against Rangers actually, up there, we lost 1-0. And then from there, played till the summer. Again, just great to be back in the pitch on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, albeit albeit you weren't training as much. But as I say, playing on a Saturday 3 o'clock, smile back in my face, enjoying what I'd done, signing in November, finished the season with a better defensive record than Rangers, broke the club's record. Again, these will be daft things, but things that you look back on with pride now. Broke the club's record for clean sheets. I think it was something like 9 hours without getting a goal. As I say, you end up with a better defensive record than Rangers. You get into playoffs. Unfortunately, you get beat. You went a one player of the year that year for the club. So again, game of the fire in the belly again, and the thing, as I say, the no the vote of confidence, but just give me a wee bit of pride and a wee bit of, as I say, that happiness to be playing every week again. As I say, I probably had a couple of, over the next 4 or 5 years, I probably had a couple of opportunities to move for Peterhead, but again, just loved the club and loved what they did for me. They suited me, they suited my family. As I say, financially they were great to me, and as I say, it was just something that I was very, very happy to be there, and that's probably why I stayed there for so long.
And Jim McAnally signed you for Peterhead. How good was he for you?
Yeah, as I say, Jim was great. As I say, knows the game inside out, very experienced. Again, he's had a couple of promotions up there, obviously a relegation that I was involved in before I left. But as I say, yeah, just he knows what he needs, and he knows players, and he knows what, as I say, he'll not take a player just on reputation. He takes a player because he knows it's going to better the team. And as I say, he's good at picking people for certain circumstances and putting them in the team. And as I say, that's his squad always evolves every 3 or 4 years. And as I say, he's had a knack of that. And I think he's the longest serving manager in Scotland. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why he is so successful, is because he knows how to put a team on a Saturday and win games. Yeah.
See the 14-15 season, the season you won the third division. How good a season was that for you personally? You were in the team of the year that season for League Two.
Yeah,
how good was that for you?
Kicking on for the year before, where I thought to myself, because even when I signed in November, I thought, right, I'll just play to January and I'll get games under my belt, and then again, like a couple of clubs come in for you, and you're thinking, well, do I go and sit on the bench and maybe not have an opportunity to the summer, or do I just play the summer with Peterhead? And as I say, all these things culminating in your performances, keeping clean sheets, getting better defensive records in Old Firm, winning Player of the Year, and it's gave me that appetite just to keep playing and to be enjoying my football again. So I had no qualms about signing with Peterhead again. As I say, for then on, again, the club were great for me, and as I say, that season, again, the disappointment in the playoff, because we felt as if we should have won the playoff that year. And as I say, we'd finished the season so strongly. I mean, I think we lost 2-1. We won 2-1 at Ibrox, and that was probably the only goal I'd lost in about 6 or 7 games. So as I say, we finished so strongly. We had great momentum going into the playoffs. Unfortunately, we drew 0-0 at East Fife, and then they beat us in the return leg at Peterhead, 1-0. And then, as I say, the next year we just kicked on, and as I say, anybody in our way, we just blew them out the water. I mean, there was games where, especially at home, where you were racking up good score lines. But as I say, with great players that probably should have played beyond that level. But as I say, the circumstances that's where they were playing, and as I say, enjoying the most important thing, that the club made players enjoy their football. Even right, they used to take us up, the Glasgow boys. They took us up on a Friday night and we put us up in the hotel, and we got our dinner and put us up in the hotel, and just wee daft things like that for a part-time club was the difference, because I don't think if we'd have been up and down every Saturday when you're doing like the 12 and 13 hour shift to play 90 minutes, I don't think it would have worked, as I say. So that the club and the management and the staff and everybody involved with the club take great credit for that. And as I say, because if they were only to take players for the Grampian region, like the Aberdeen and Inverness area, they would struggle to be successful. You need to broaden your horizons, and as I say, they were great with the Glasgow boys, myself included. And as I say, that was one of the most important things. But yeah, that season there was difficult moments within that season as well. But again, good changing room, good strong characters, good will to win. And as I say, that's why we were successful. And as I say, great celebrations when we won the league, and a good wee trip to Maga after all the years.
Who were the good characters in the dressing room?
Well, you guys like Ronnie McAllister. A couple of the boys up there, Stephen Noble, the captain at that time. Obviously, the substitute goalkeeper Paul Jarvie, who then went on to be a coach. And They say guys like that, guys that had been about and been. I mean, Steg was at Kilmarnock with myself, and Jarve had been at Dundee United as a young kid, and as I say, all had the Rory at Inverness, etc. So all had experienced the full-time environments, and as I say, probably the weirdest thing was you didn't have a changing room as in every day. That was probably the weirdest thing for that time. The fact that you were up, changed, and you were out training. That was probably, you weren't in there having banter and having a bit of lunch and in there for 3-4 hours. But we still had a good camaraderie and a good team spirit. And as I say, that stood us in good stead for a couple of years.
Brilliant. One player I want to touch on was Simon Ferry when he came into Peterhead. What kind of character is he?
Hi, Si's a good character, a good laugh. Obviously, doing well with all his stuff now, and they say some of his. As I say, that's all the stuff I love, like the changing room stories, and like, I mean, I keep going on these podcasts and saying I'm going to go on these podcasts and watch the kind of coaching master classes and that. But I just love the banter of the changing room. I just love the stories of as I say, the pre-season trips and the stories with the managers and stuff like that. And as I say, Si's doing really well with that. But yes, Si was a good player. Again, probably was down south, wanted to come up the road. Jim gave him the opportunity to come up and play and as I say, train and play and put appearances on his CV, same as myself, and that's exactly what he did. As obviously, as I say, he's still doing it now. So good player, good comfortable player. You could, as I say, you could tell he'd been brought up the right way at Celtic in terms of how he sees the game and obviously his technical aspects and that as well. And as I say, a good character. Guys like that are good to have, especially when you're driving 3-4 hours on a bus up and down to training and games like that. And as I say, that was one thing. As I say, guys like Andy Rodgers and that as well. They were good guys to have. They were good guys to have and good guys to lift the spirits. And if you were a wee bit too down, they would lift you up. And if you were getting a wee bit too big for yourself, they would bring you down to earth as well. So as I say, good minibus we had, but also good changes in them as well.
And obviously you get relegated at the end of your 4-year spell at Peterhead. Like, how do you look back on your time at Peterhead?
My overall time, fantastic. As I say, the last season was difficult for me. As I say, again, I had a niggle with my knee for most of the season, and it was that bit where I'd played for something like, I think I'd played like 140 odd games in a row or 160 odd games in a row, and I'd never missed a game. And don't get me wrong, at part-time it was easier to modify if you had a wee niggle or a wee knock, because you could miss one training session and it wouldn't be the end of the world. But it got to the point where I was only turning up. I was injured and I was patching myself up for a Saturday and then no training again and patching myself up for a Saturday. And that can only happen. I know myself that can only happen for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. See, when you go beyond that, you end up you're no physically prepared to play. You're no mentally prepared to play. And your performances suffer. And as I say, I had a chat with the manager after one of the games, and it was just like, can't do this anymore. Like, I need to get my knee fixed. I can't just keep putting it off. I was one of the guys, listen, I always want to play unless I've got a bullet wound. I want to play, but it was just one of the ones where it was starting to get more and more. It happened just a couple of weeks before the Peterhead final, actually, against Rangers, and as I say, it just thinged on for there, and now I never got rid of it. And as I say, it was the summer came and I got a rest, and the next year it just came back again. So as I say, the bit was it was, as I say, you were just playing turning up and playing on a Saturday, and as I say, it wasn't good for me, it wasn't good for the team. So I had a talk to the gaffer and come out the team for a while, and then all of a sudden try to get myself back, and then I say by the time I got back, it was kind of almost into the playoffs. I think I played the last game of the season. I think I played young boy that had Fraser's there, had played a lot of games, but we were in the mire at that point. As I say, we could get the odd result, but we weren't getting a lot of results. And as I say, we were in the thicket. And then again, I come back for the last game. I think we had the meet match or better Stenny's result.
That's right. Yeah,
I had to win, and I think Stenny had to get beat. But we ended up Stenny won and we won. But it was enough to kind of. We were ahead of Stenny. So Stenny get relegated, and I had a couple of good saves that day and kept us in it. And I thought, well, I'm back. And then obviously we went into the playoffs where went to playoffs where I think we went to Forfar during the week, and we were cruising, and then obviously a red card in the first half kind of changed the game. We lost the game, and then again I think we were 3-1 down going into the game at Balmoor, and then obviously the Balmoor was just a game to forget for everybody, myself included, who don't think anybody played well that day. And as I say, we took a sore one. Forfar had a bit of momentum obviously because they were coming up the way, and we were obviously didn't have a lot of momentum because we were going down the way, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, left again, didn't leave on a sour note. It was just like thank the club for everything they'd done, but I knew by that time it was time to move on. As I say, I think the manager knew that, and a few of the players knew that the good thing that we'd had going for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years was now coming to an end. And as I say, a few of the players moved on, myself included. As I say, but yeah, disappointing last season, but if doesn't take away from all the good times I had as well. But obviously to finish on that was a bit disappointing. Yeah, so but again, that's football.
And Barry Smith signed you for Raith, and you've had a good season there. You finished second in League One and played 28 times. Like, how much did you enjoy your time there?
Loved Raith. As I said, gutted. That's one of my biggest regrets in football, that we never won the league the last day of the season.
Yeah.
As I say, going there, I went there quite late. Again, obviously I was the last 3 years at Peterhead. I was in the Rangers Academy, so obviously that's where I was doing the school programme during the day, and I was training with Peterhead at night. And then obviously at Raith, because they were full time, that was going to be a little bit of an issue, but we managed to sort it out. As I say, I managed to continue my coaching kind of journey and obviously do my job as well as train as much as I could with Raith. But yeah, it was kind of again a clubs coming in and nothing concrete, and then obviously Raith came in with a concrete offer. And again, it was a chance for me to kind of go full time again, because obviously that point I was 34, 35, and it was another chance to go full time before I finished up. And again, I think I played 22 games, had 11 clean sheets. Again, I had a couple of kind of disappointing games where the manager chose to take me out of the team, which was fine, no problem with that. But as I say, that was kind of a middle spell in the season, and we kind of, not saying it was because he took me out of the team, I don't mean that, but to say we kind of fell away a little bit. And then obviously we came strong at the end, and as I say, to be put in that position, probably with 3 or 4 games to go, we never thought Ayr would have dropped that many points. But for Ayr and us to be the only two full-time teams, for us, we had a 100% record at home. We'd won every game we played that year. And as I say, we needed to beat Alloa in the last game to be champions, and we drew 0-0, unfortunately, hitting the post with a couple of minutes to go. But again, I felt as if I finished the season strongly, and then obviously going into the playoffs and with a disappointing result at Alloa, and then obviously the game was almost beyond us getting into the second leg. And as I said, again, disappointing that you imagine you went for the high of trying to win the last game to obviously the low of getting beat in the playoffs. But again, that's the bit when you've got kind of teams with momentum and teams that don't have momentum. That's a massive thing when it comes to the playoffs. A lot of times we find, and even when I find in England, when you look at the Championship, very rarely is a team that's been in first and second that go into third or fourth win the playoffs. It's always the teams that a couple of weeks to go are 7th and 8th, and they put a run of results together, and they end up, because they've got a bit of momentum, ending up going up. So Alloa kind of had that as well. So yeah, and Jim Goodman had a good strong team that were hard to beat and hard to break down, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, the Raith one was a bit disappointing, and then again, you don't want to finish your career on not winning a league, but as I say, there was the opportunity to come for me to make decisions on whether I still wanted to play or whether I wanted to take these full-time coaching roles that came up, and as I say, I chose the latter.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you retire at the end of that season. How do you look back on your playing career as a whole?
If I'm honest, I felt as if it finished short. I still had a couple of years to go. I mean, I always had in my head that I would play till I was 40. I mean, I was, obviously COVID's put a wee bit on that, but I'm always one of these guys that even if I wasn't playing professionally, I'd still be playing with my pals, or I'd still be playing with the Sunday League team or something, because again, I just love football. But that was probably the hardest transition bit, was was, again, I had a couple of offers to still play, but the coaching roles were now outweighing the playing roles in terms of monetary and also in terms of full-time and part-time and stuff. So, as I say, the fact that Colin Stewart had been in my position before and had went to the first team with the current staff that are there, the job was offered to me right away. I also had a couple of coaching offers for other places, and as I say, I was on holiday at the time, and basically I gave myself the 2 weeks I was on holiday to make my mind up. I know that my wife was chuffed because I was on the phone nearly every night, but various clubs. But when I come back, I decided that I would kind of start on the coaching journey full time rather than play for another couple of years, because I didn't want the coaches' roles to pass me by for the sake of playing for another couple of years. So it was fine, great honeymoon period, first couple of weeks, loads of trips, going to loads of different countries, pre-season trips was great. Probably I got a little bit itchy feet when it was like the real stuff was starting, so when the leagues or stuff starting and the Betfred Cup was starting, I had a really itchy feet going, I don't know if I've done the right thing. But again, we have the odd day I'll jump in goals and train with the boys, and as I say, we'll have the staff games and the odd testimonial games and stuff like that. So that kind of quells Murdies as such. That keeps Murdies at bay for a couple of weeks, and then, as I say, when I get the goalie heat back on again, I just jump in the goals at training again, and then you wake up sore the next day and stuff. You realise why you're retired. But as I say, that bug will never go away. But as I say, every now and then I know how to suppress it, as I say, by just going in and jumping about and being a big daft goal again. So, but as I say, enjoyed the coaching bit. As I say, really looking forward to the next bit when we come out of COVID, hopefully, very, very soon. But it's been great so far, and obviously it's the second best thing to playing, and as I say, it's at the club I love. So as I say, I'm happy where I'm at now.
Brilliant. You started Co-Sport as well. Just talk to us a wee bit about that.
Yeah, well, that was me and my friend Dan, where, as I say, Dan's obviously a coach at Rangers as well, because we'd thought about, we'd been doing previous kind of coaching once a week, and we thought, well, this is something that we should maybe expand, and rather working for an organisation, why don't we create our own organisation? And again, it's probably, so obviously we've got a goalkeeping academy in Lanarkshire, and we've got a goalkeeping academy in West Lothian as well. But again, it's one of the ones where I'd actually like to give more time to it. But obviously with my current role, that obviously takes up most of my time, and as I say, it's a role I enjoy. But it's something there that, as I say, me and Dan have worked hard to. I think at the start we had like 3 or 4 goalkeepers, and through reputation and through content and through kind of the results that the boys have been getting, we're now over 50 between the two. So as I say, it's something that will probably grow and would like to grow a little bit more. But as I say, it's been difficult at the moment with our own roles, but also with COVID and that as well. But as I say, during the break there, we were still trying to get our sessions on. But again, due to numbers and the kind of restrictions and guidelines and stuff, it was becoming difficult. But yeah, so kind of at the moment, we're just like everybody else. We're kind of remote programs and working from home and stuff. But hopefully, we'll see the kids back on the grass diving about the goal soon.
Definitely. And what's have you ever thought about like the future, about like getting into management and things like that?
A few people have said that to me. Again, I plan on doing my kind of, the fact that I know it was only boys club and stuff, but the fact that I started as a midfielder, and again, I've always been one of these guys that I don't just worry about the goalkeeper. I'm always thinking about tactics and set plays and stuff like that. So you say my plan post COVID is to try and pass my A licence as well. So I've got obviously my outfield B licence, but I like to get my outfield A. Who knows where that might take me after that? Will I go and do the pro? I don't know. The fact that I've got the kind of highest award that I can get at goalkeeping, as I say, I'm just that type of character, and I never like to stand still. I just like to always challenge myself, and as I say, the next part of that will be the A licence, and maybe whatever beyond that. I would never rule it out, because as I say, I don't just love goalkeeping, I love football as well, and as I say, I feel as if I've got a broad enough knowledge that I could pass that on or utilise it well. If it was a first team environment or an academy environment, but never say never, but I'm leaving myself open to it. But I'm just at this moment in time, especially with COVID, I'm just trying to get as many strings in my bow as possible, so that I'm a better coach, and as I say, a better youth coach or a better adult coach when I come out of this. So as I say, that's kind of where I'm at now.
Brilliant. Are you all right closing some quick fire questions, Graeme?
Yeah, no problem.
Brilliant. Out of your whole career, who would you say was the best player you've ever played with?
Best with? Oh, Ali McCoy's Barry Ferguson, can't split them.
Really? Good characters as well.
Aye, winners, just winners. Like, again, Fergie's known as a moaner, but had a funny side in that as well. Coyce's probably more intelligent than people give him credit for, because he's always a bit of a laugh and a joker. But when you see him on like doing his commentary and his punditry and that, like, he's bang on.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he speaks the truth and he's bang on. And as I say, he's but in terms of a natural finisher, incredible. Only pips Boydie by a bit.
Brilliant. Best player you've ever played against?
Against striker, go for probably Dado Purso or Robbie Keane.
Brilliant. Favourite away ground you played at?
Tynecastle. I used to love Tynecastle. That hostile atmosphere. You felt as if everybody was on top of you, and you felt as if the opposition fans were right on your back. And it was always one of the grounds that I always had a decent enough performance here. I always had a couple of fairly good games and big games and stuff. So yeah, Tynecastle won that one.
Brilliant. Interesting fact about yourself that viewers might not know.
Well, I've gave you the fielder one. I worked at Tesco, so when I went to Peterhead, when I was training part-time and I was doing my badges, I was finding something to fill my day, because it was like going to the gym at 8 o'clock, and then the next couple of days it was 10 o'clock, and then it was 12 o'clock, and it was, I can go the night, I can go the morning. And all of a sudden, so I needed something to fill my day. So my pal's sister worked at Tesco. I said, "Why, are you getting any jobs going? Just whether it's stack shelves or working the depot or whatever." I said, "Just something to do." She said, "I'll have a wee word. The manager's a blue nose." So ended up getting an interview on the Friday, started on the Monday, and again, just something that got me at the house. Don't get me wrong, paid a couple of bills at the end of the month as well, but got me at the house, and as I say, actually worked with a good bunch of people, and people are still keep in touch with that. But as I say, I had done that for 2 or 3 years while I was at Peterhead, so before I went obviously into my gig at Rangers. So yeah, a lot of people might not know that.
Brilliant. Favourite film and TV show?
Film, Carlito's Way.
Very good.
Big Pacino fan. What will we go for? What's TV show? What am I on tonight? I'm on Cobra Kai now, so we'll go Cobra Kai.
Brilliant. Best friend in football?
To be fair, I've probably got a few. As I say, I've got a couple, like, as I say, the guys at Rangers, obviously Peter Lovenkrands was there, and Kevin Thompson and guys like that, who ex-players, and as I say, love the football, and probably pally with them. But loads of guys outside of football, as I say, I've got guys that I still speak to for Peterhead, for St Johnstone, for Rangers, for Kelly, even for my youth team at Kelly. Probably too many to mention, so I'll probably get one for everybody.
Brilliant. Final question: best manager you played under?
Oh, I'm going to say all of them, because I never played under Danny Lennon. I'd say all of them, because again, looking where I am now, there's bits that you probably take for all of them.
Yeah.
Other ones had more successful. Other ones is more successful. But when I think of Bobby Williamson, John McCormick, John McVeigh, Jim Jeffries, Derek McInnes, Walter Smith, Barry Smith, who have I missed?
Jim McInally.
Again, like as I say, I take things for all of them, because if I look at the guys and what they've done in their career and what they're doing now and how well they're still doing it, then as I say, I've managed to be, well, I've been very, very fortunate in terms of the managers that I've had.
Brilliant. Graeme, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on the show, mate. Thanks very much for coming on. I really enjoyed it. Pleasure.
Cheers now.
Cheers, Graeme.
You're gonna get better real soon. Yeah, I'ma just do me, you just do you. I swear it's gonna get better real soon. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. I got a clear view. We're